Hello out there, and it is time again for another new exciting Spyderco. And what is in front of us today is the Para 3 Lightweight. And yeah, this is a new take, a new variation on a knife that has very quickly in the past couple years become a classic in Spyderco's lineup. And the lightweight aspect of it is basically just substituting FRN handle scales and cutting the weight a whole lot more than what it was already at, which really wasn't heavy in my estimation. But once I got this knife in hand, I noticed there are a lot of other details about this knife that are adjusted, a few things that I think are improved, and just a few other things just based on the specs and the price point that sort of set this knife apart from any other Spydercos that we've seen before. So yeah, it is a pretty interesting one. So stick around while I go through all of these details. But we are going to start with what the name says, the weight. So this is the lightweight Para 3. Like I said, the regular Para 3 was not a particularly heavy knife. I don't have one of the G10 versions, but my carbon fiber version here, 3.28 ounces, not heavy at all by my estimation. But the lightweight version, check this out. 2.39. I mean, 2.39, 2.4. I mean, that weighs nothing. So yeah, very, very light. If you are someone who counts ounces like that, then this one will probably impress you a lot. For me though, it really doesn't really carry, that much importance, because for me, like I said, that original Para 3, it never struck me as heavy. So cutting weight for this knife wasn't really that necessary. There is a lot of stuff done though in the FRN to make it even more lightweight than what you might be used to. One of the things I noticed immediately when I picked it up was that the actual texture pattern is a lot less aggressive than the kind of FRN pattern that you see on the Native series. So when I'm ranking Spyderco FRN, I really like the stuff from Taiwan that they had on that lightweight chaparral, and then I also really like the Delica, which is from Japan. Third place for me has always been that Native lightweight, or the Manix lightweight, kind of like FRN plasticky scale. Always was a little bit sharp for me, wasn't all that impressive, and I do like that they tone this down a little bit. You still have the ridges, and you still have all that great texturing, but like you can probably see, it is a little bit lower, and so for me it's a little bit more comfortable in the hand without really sacrificing any of that texture that you had on the previous models they've used it on. So it is an improvement, I think. Interested to see how it looks when it comes out in different colors as well. All right, but getting back to the rest of the knife and starting with the blade, I guess, what we have is a steel that I'm not sure if Spyderco has used it before, but it really isn't just a very common steel quite yet in folders. And what this is CTS BD1N. And the confusion that might come up, and I had some when I first heard it, was I thought that it was the same thing as CTS BD1. And I think there's also another steel variation called BDZ1 or BD1. I mean, there's a number of different steels that have very similar naming. And from what my understanding is that BD1N does have a lot of similar traits to regular BD1, except instead of a lot of vanadium, that has been replaced with nitrogen, which helps make this a harder steel. So it should have better edge retention, and that's my understanding. But again, I have no experience with this stuff yet. I don't know very many people who do, so this is one of those things that as it gets used and as it plays out, we're going to really get an understanding as to what another comparable steel for this will be. Is it going to be on par with VG10 or maybe more on 154 CM? I don't know. Spyderco is very confident in it, and I think that that is definitely a good thing because they know their steel. So I will definitely put my trust in them when it comes to BD1N, and this is a very big rollout, I think, when it comes to just importance of a knife being released. They knew that this would have a lot of hype, and if this is the steel that they're going to pick for it, then yeah, I'm pretty confident that they are picking a good one. All right, so that is that. I mean, we still have the full flat ground blade. Everything else about the blade is pretty much your standard Para 3. Really good jimping, excellent, just grips the thumb, perfect ramp. Everything that you would expect from a Para 3 there. Some other stuff, though, that's different. I mean, what we have is the first compression lock that I know of that's been in FRN. So compression locks have been in G10, carbon fiber. I think the original compression lock in the Salsa, that was an aluminum knife. So they've done it in just about everything. Maybe there was an FRN version of the Salsa. I don't know. But from my understanding, this is the first, and it's executed really well. They did a good job with it. No real issues. So I know when I first heard about this knife and the conversations I had, there were those question marks as, how are they going to get a compression lock into a plastic scale? And it seems that it was seamless. Whatever R&D they put into it, it worked, because this knife is, locks up perfectly, and seems like it was built for the plastic scales and the compression lock to be a perfect union. So absolutely zero issue with that. And then as we move on back, and I'll get back into action in just a second, but as we move on back, what we're seeing now is a wire clip. So on my Para 3, my carbon fiber one, I have that Lynch clip that I put on there. But just for comparison, the Paramilitary 2, what you usually have, is this like standard Spyderco pocket clip. And because of the big lanyard hole on this, and then also on the Para 3, it's just an awkward clip. It always leaves a lot of real estate. It's just never quite perfect. People don't like it. They get a replacement. They complain, whatever it is, right? Well, with this lightweight one, they finally made the decision to go with the wire clip, and I think it's perfect. It makes perfect sense. I think that's the way they probably should have gone on just the regular Para 3. And then also, as you can see, even though we do still have this big lanyard tube, it is moved. And so you have this perfect ability to have this loop over on the clip without obstructing that lanyard tube. And so basically the lanyard tube fans will get what they want. I don't know how many lanyard tube fans there actually are, but more importantly, I think the deep pocket carry people will be able to get that good wire clip. And yeah, it's a great one in pocket. So it definitely does have that subtlety to it where there won't be a lot sticking out of your pocket. It is reversible, so there is definitely that. One other thing that's really good about this knife is the price point. So this is, with the exception of the Salsa, which is long discontinued now, this is, in my understanding, the least expensive compression lock knife maybe that there's ever been. I know like the little native compression lock is right around the same price, right around 91 bucks. But yeah, this one is pretty inexpensive, USA made, and yeah, FRN. So they're just a number of like new aspects of this, especially when you factor in that the scales are just a little bit different, the steel is different. There's just a lot of appeal to this knife that even if you're already used to the platform, you might be interested in picking one of these up. Now that said, if you have just a regular Para 3 in G10 S30V blade steel, you might be looking at this like, why do I need this knife? And to that, I would say, I don't know. I don't know why you need the knife. Unless there is something that I mentioned in, those differences that really jumps out at you as appealing, then I don't see any real way that this is going to be better than just the regular stock S30V Para 3 in G10. Don't know it. But there's probably a lot of people out there who are seeing some appeal in some of those differences. What I will say, getting back to the locking mechanism, is that we do have a pretty smooth action. You can see I'm trying to close the knife and it's not dropping shut. It is pretty smooth though. Does spider flick. Still is breaking in. I'm actually not keeping this one myself. I'm sending it along, and I'm actually going to be keeping a serrated version So with that one, when I get it, I'll probably do a follow-up and maybe adjust the pivot screw if I need to. As it is, though, I think this one will eventually, you know, be able to swing down. You can get it pretty close, but it's just so light and there's no weight behind the blade where it's just not going to do it on its own quite yet. But I think that it's something that, you know, if you adjust it and finagle it, you'll be able to make that work. One other thing, as we look inside here and on the back, you can see these standoffs are just a little bit odd because of the FRN. It's all like this like plastic that's put together, a little bit different there. And then we do, on the inside, have just a little bit additional like waffling, a little bit more to cut some more weight. So they've really gone all out to make this a winner. And there are a lot of things that I'm impressed with. People who are asking about the detent, it's pretty solid. So yeah, I like it. Really easy to flick open. So overall, guys, oh, and I got it. Look at that. See if I can do this again. Almost. So you'll see it'll break in. And yeah, you should be able to get some pretty good action out of it. But overall, guys, I'm pretty happy with this knife. Pretty happy with this first impression of it. I think it's going to be a really big seller. But like I said, I think that if you are on any kind of knife budget and none of the things, none of those differences, or if you're not like really into trying to test out this steel, you know, if those things just aren't jumping out at you, you already have a pair of 3, there's no need to get something like this. I think what this is really going to be is for 1, people who are collecting, or 2, people who want just another version of the knife, like multiple ones for like specific purposes. Or if you're new to it and hey, you want to get a pair of 3, but like you wanted a different option. And that's what this is. It's an option. It's a really good option. I think they're executing it well and giving people something that they've been asking for. So it's going to be a big winner. And much like the Native 5, where you have the G10 or, you know, the lightweight version, people are going to prefer one or the other. And a couple years from now, we're never even going to remember that there was a time when we didn't have that option between the two. So that's my take on it, guys. Any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. But I will talk with you soon. Thanks for watching and take care. Have a good one.